Hey everybody, welcome back to round 28 of Inside the Clinch. My name is Eric, as always joined by my longtime friend Johnny. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right. Got my COVID vaccine yesterday. I'm a little bit cranky because of that, so it's good to be here and record with you. How you doing?
I'm good. Congrats on 750 podcast downloads. We hit a new milestone on the podcast. I think that's a pretty good milestone. We're waiting to hit that 1K.
It's gonna happen very, very soon.
God bless, man. As always, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Really helps the podcast. On Instagram, we are Inside the Clinch MMA. On Twitter, we are ITC MMA Podcast. And on Facebook and YouTube, we are Inside the Clinch MMA Podcast. So, John, we have a lot to discuss today. We have Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul coming up. We have Jake Paul getting a fight announced with Tyrone Woodley, which is exciting. Tito Ortiz is in the news as well. We'll be getting to that in a minute. He's stepping down from his political career, I guess we can call it that. And we're going to lightly touch on the UFC event coming up this Saturday with Rozenstruik versus Sakai as the headlining event.
A lot of fun stuff happening in the combat sports world. It's a little bit of unusual of a time, but still entertaining, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we had a weekend off of fighting, so, there's bound to be something going on in the world of MMA. So we're just glad to be able to talk through it all with you guys.
It's just crazy how the recent MMA news just goes from Hezbollah, which is that kid that you love, where he's not really a kid, he's an 18-year-old dwarf, but he's just been all over the social media, and if it's not him, then it's the Jake Paul or Logan Paul. Like, I feel like MMA is not really hasn't really been in the news as much lately because of those two.
Yeah, it's actually right. I mean, over the last, I think, 2 weeks alone, I mean, I've seen those Hezbollah videos, over the last couple of months here and there, but these last 2 weeks alone, I mean, every single day I'm finding new hilarious videos. I think that kid is hilarious.
He's fighting soon, no?
Yeah, he is with that other kid from, I think, from Tajikistan. He's also has the same disease. So they're not exactly midgets, but their bodies are shaped like children, and they're both Hezbollah is 18, the other kid is 17.
I'm not sure exactly what disease they have, but I heard they're dwarfs. I'm not sure, but that other kid from Tajikistan, he's a singer. Have you ever heard him sing?
Yeah, I actually sent your brother a video of that. That was so funny. He's gonna have a hit album after this fight. I'm telling you that.
Those two just blew up, and it's so funny. Have you seen? I was on Henry Cejudo's page yesterday. Shout out Henry Cejudo for getting engaged to his girlfriend for a few years now. Well, has it been a few years?
No, I think it's a different girl. This is not the same girl he walked away from MMA for. There's a different girl now.
Okay. Anyways, there's just like a bunch of memes of him with Hezbollah like facing off, and like there's different video edited stuff of them, and it's just freaking hilarious.
That's hilarious. I think that kid is hilarious. He's made a lot of money on TikTok, man. Talk about nice income.
I miss the king of cringe.
Nah, I mean, as a fighter, yeah, I actually wish we heard from him less, but hopefully now he's married, he's going to have some more things keeping him busy, so he won't be clowning on social media as much.
His wife's a cutie too, so good for him.
Yeah. All right, John, so let's jump into it. This Sunday, we have Floyd Mayweather making a return against Logan Paul. June 6th, the fight is going to be going down in Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida. The opening odds, or I should say the current odds per DraftKings, when I checked earlier today, Floyd Mayweather is coming in as a minus 1,000 favorite, and Logan Paul is a plus 650 underdog. To me, the only thing that makes me nervous about this fight is the size difference. I would say I'm a little bit just nervous. I know there's going to be, I think, a 30-pound weight allowance gap, at least from max to max. But 5'8" versus 6'2", that's a noticeable size difference.
Yeah. So apparently, Floyd Mayweather is supposed to come in at 160 pounds. That's the most he's ever going to come in for a fight. And Logan Paul has to come in at 190 pounds. And if he exceeds the 190-pound limit, then he has to pay like $100,000 fine, which is kind of silly because they're gonna be getting so much money.
Yeah, $100,000 is nothing.
But yeah, the size difference is insane. Like, yeah, they were facing off today, and just the size difference is insane. But I don't really see how Logan Paul could take this. I feel like people have doubted Mayweather in the past, and he's too good of a boxer. He's 50-0. Like, Logan Paul has a loss to KSI, you know.
Look, Logan Paul and Jake Paul, I think, like I said a couple of podcasts ago, it's time we call them boxers. They may not be having all the experience in the world, but they're on that path. And, I think it's safe to call them boxers. Mayweather, on the other hand, he's not just a boxer. He's one of the best boxers that have ever stepped into the ring. 50-0 or 49 and counter, whatever you want to call him. But like the guy has gone through it all. I've actually been seeing a bunch of his old boxing highlights from when he was a pretty boy Floyd. Man, that Floyd Mayweather was so much more fun and interesting to watch. But this fight, look, we all know it's no question at all. Mayweather's the more technical fighter. He can move around better. He has better technique. But I did see some videos of Logan working the jab. He does have a significant reach advantage. So if Logan Paul can figure out how to use that jab correctly and stop Mayweather from getting close, I mean, he might have the answers he needs. Because if Mayweather can get in close, he's not going to be able to really land points, and it's going to be hard for him to knock him out.
Yeah, I did see those videos that you're referring to, and Logan Paul does look huge in the videos. He looks very built, but honestly, just watching him hit the bag, I really wasn't too impressed. He didn't really do anything cool.
It's also on camera,
dude. But Mayweather is just like on a different level. Like they're boxers and they're legends, and he's a legend. He's 44 years old right now. Maybe age might play a factor. Maybe his ring rust might play a factor, but I highly doubt it. Even with the gap in weight, I feel like Floyd Mayweather is just too experienced, too good in boxing to lose to Logan Paul. And no disrespect to Logan Paul, I have nothing against him, but I just feel like Mayweather's on a different level. And kudos to him for taking this fight. Unlike his brother, who we're going to get into in a second, I have a little bit more respect for him because he's actually fighting a real boxer.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you said, the age is a big thing. 44, it's pretty high up there. Not too many athletes are still active at that age. But I think what sets Mayweather apart is if I'm not mistaken, Mayweather has been in the gym. He's been coaching. He's been working with younger athletes. So again, he's not one of these athletes that just retired, put his feet up, and is just sitting on the couch watching the fights every weekend. He's actually been active. He's been I don't know, probably not obviously to the same degree as when he was actively fighting, but I'm sure he's been in camp. We know what a Mayweather camp can be like. He can be eating McDonald's and he's still coming in on his A game. So yeah, like I said, my only fear would be the size. Second would be the age, but again, the experience that Mayweather has, I think he should be able to handle it.
I feel like even if Mayweather is not active, I feel like just his experience from so many years of dominating boxing, I feel like that's just going to be enough. But we also know that Paul is he's taking training very seriously. Apparently, he moved to Puerto Rico, where he's living in a $13 million house and where he's completely focused on training. So maybe, I don't know, anything can happen. This is the good part about the sport.
But like you said, I definitely have a lot more respect for Logan Paul for taking the bigger fight and a real fight, and also just for the fact that he's not out there talking as much shit. He's still making noise. He's still in the news, but he's not being an immature child taking a hat off someone's head or just like untying someone's shoelaces. Like that's literally junior high school shit. Like I have a lot more respect for Logan Paul in that sense. At least he's acting more mature.
Yeah, so apparently Jake Paul is banned from even being in the arena during the fight.
He would definitely cause an issue if he was in the building, so I think that's a great idea.
Have you heard? So the rules of the fight were released, I believe, yesterday. Yeah. You heard the rules?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me just go over the rules with the audience. So there's not going to be – it's an exhibition fight, so there's going to be no winner. There are no judges. Knockouts are acceptable.
Sorry, there's going to be a winner, but there's no judges, I think, for decision. So if it goes to decision, there's going to be no call out. I think that was the situation.
From what I read, it said that they're not gonna say who the winner is.
I mean, if someone gets knocked out, you'll clear.
Unless there's a knockout, which their knockouts are okay. I don't know a situation when they wouldn't be okay. Like
Tyson,
I don't know.
Tyson, they weren't okay with Tyson.
How do you control like knocking someone out? If you're in a fight, you're in a fight. Like it's a weird rule. I feel like other rules include 12-ounce gloves and no headgear, and the rule with Jake Paul not being able to enter the arena. But pretty strange rules, but should be an interesting fight.
Yeah, it's 8 rounds, so not super long. So we do see Mayweather turns up in the later rounds. How we're going to see that impact this performance, I don't know. The reason he usually turns it on is because at that point, that's when his opponents gas out. So is he going to be able to take Jake Paul into those deep waters in a shorter time frame? It's going to be interesting to see. In my opinion, what Mayweather needs to do is he just needs to bob and weave and avoid as many of Jake Paul's punches as he can. I think halfway into the fight, if he misses enough, Logan Paul is going to gas out, and I think from there he can piece him up.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a tactical match, and I feel like just if Mayweather comes in as Mayweather, not as a grandpa, and doesn't let his age play a factor, I feel like this is going to be an easy night for him.
All right, I'm excited. This event actually came around a lot quicker than I thought it would. I didn't realize it was coming up so close, but I'm excited. I'm excited it's finally going down. Again, kudos to Logan Paul for taking on a legend. But let's go Money Mayweather, man. I'm on the money team.
Yeah, me too, man. As I said already a bunch of times, Mayweather's going to take it. And I actually made a post on Instagram today, and I didn't know what your thoughts on it was, so I didn't want to include both of us. But I said anyone that thinks that Logan Paul is going to win is just absolutely out of their mind. So
Yeah, I saw that you did that. I saw that you signed John, and I was kind of curious. I'm like, I do agree with that. We have kind of lightly spoken on this before, so I'm like,
yeah, we never officially had the conversation. So you and I have differing opinions a lot of the time. So I didn't want to speak for you, so I just put my name in there.
yeah, no, I completely agree though. So good call. I mean, again, as long as Mayweather can just get his way inside Logan's reach, and I think that would be the only challenge. But I don't think that's anything hasn't seen before.
Inside the clinch, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on to the other Paul brother, the problem child. Jake Paul is going to be taking on Tyrone Woodley. This fight was just announced. We initially saw these two go at it at the Jake Paul versus Ben Askren event backstage. Woodley was in the locker room for Jake Paul. What looked like he was just overviewing Jake Paul's hands getting wrapped just to make sure that nothing is being put in there, which is a regular thing for pre-boxing events. And we saw that Woodley was, the two of them got at it with Jake Paul, his coach. There was a little bit of just, shit talking, a little bit of ego going back and forth. Pretty much before the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight started, there was a lot of buzz that Tyrone Woodley should be in there next. So long and behold, we finally get this fight. Firstly, I want to say I'm pretty glad that Jake Paul's taking a step up in competition. Not quite where I would have liked to see him, but definitely an improvement from what we've seen him before. Woodley's definitely like a power puncher. He's a knockout artist. He has been, performing differently as of late. But if we look earlier in his career, I mean, he just has some of the most brutal knockouts in MMA history. But I don't know. Woodley is, like I just said, on a bad streak. He's close. I think he's close to 40. He's going to be turning 40 for the fight. I don't know. I don't like that Woodley's the guy representing the MMA community. I mean, he's a better representative than Ben Askren. But I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be, as you said, definitely a step up in competition from Jake Paul. I mean, from Ben Askren and Nate Robinson. I don't even know who the first guy he fought, what his name is, but this is definitely going to be a step up. But this is not really the same Woodley that we're really known to watching. Woodley's on a 4-fight losing streak. He did fight some great fighters during that 4-fight skid, including Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. But, Woodley, you said Woodley's a knockout artist. I would have to disagree with that because Woodley's last knockout was in 2016. That's 5 years ago, and that was against Robbie Lawler. He hasn't knocked out anybody since. He barely won since. So I feel like this fight is tactically chosen for Jake Paul. Jake Paul definitely has a chance to win, and he's coming out as a favorite in the fight. So I'm kind of surprised about that, but I'm not at the same time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at Woodley's last 4 losses now, we had Usman, Burns, Colby, and Vicente Luque. I think one of the main things on all those 4 fights is a lot of it took place on the ground. There was a lot of ground and pound, a lot of ground control. There's not going to be any of that in this fight. This is going to be boxing only. So, could we see perhaps Woodley, get back on his, stay on his feet and maybe perform? He was hesitant to let his hands fly in those fights as we saw, but how much of that is the fear of getting taken down again? You know what I mean? So I don't know. If this was
I think
4 years ago, I would say Woodley hands down, no questions asked. But now,
yeah, 4 years ago, definitely. I mean, look, Woodley he's known as a wrestler. He came into UFC as a wrestler, but he does have punching. He does have knockout power. He does train with Freddie Roach, but I feel like he kind of took this fight for the money. He's gonna be making 7 figures in this fight. He never made that in his entire UFC career. He was known as a boring fighter for a lot of the time. I don't know, man. Like it's an interesting fight, but I feel like it was stylistically chosen for Jake Paul to win.
Yeah, like I said in the past, I mean, that kid is doing it right. He's hand selecting what and where and everything that'll make him look good. He's a marketing genius. I think he's one of the best marketed athletes right now, similar to what we've seen with Conor on his come up. I mean, the guy is doing everything right. He's making the right noise and he's getting the right attention on himself.
Yeah, you could hate on him all you want. People could hate on him all they want, but as you said, he's a marketing genius. He has all eyes on him. He just came into combat sports or whatever, and like all the headlines are about Jake Paul and Logan Paul. Like it's ridiculous. He has a huge name from being a Disney fighter. Disney actor, excuse me. But I don't know, man. This is a weird fight, but I kind of see him winning it.
Jake Paul, you see winning it?
I kind of see Jake Paul winning it, to be honest. And Tyrone Woodley is like Tyrone Woodley should retire. I feel like you and I have said this before. Tyrone Woodley needs to retire. Like comes a certain point where even if you were a great fighter, there comes a certain point where you lose it. And Tyrone Woodley lost it. These past 4 fights, people do say that they were against tough competition, but he got dominated in every single fight. And I don't give a shit what Chael Sonnen says. He got dominated in every single fight. There's no chance of him winning any of those fights. That's just my personal take. Yeah. But something interesting about this fight, there's also there's a rematch clause. So if Jake Paul loses, he's going to be granted an immediate rematch. So that's something interesting.
I'm sure Woodley would love that. If he beats Paul and gets the biggest payday, why not do that twice? You know what I mean? So for Woodley, that's a sick clause, I think, to have in the contract.
Hell yeah. So this fight is not going to happen for some time. It's scheduled for August 28th. Hopefully everything goes according to plan and we see this fight. But if not, I'm excited for Jake Paul, to be honest. Like he's kind of growing on me, as weird as that sounds.
Look, if he wasn't being so immature, I would like him a lot more. He's, like I said, he's doing all the right things. I just don't like how he's going about doing all those things necessarily.
You purchased his gotcha hat.
That's just because that was hilarious. Hey, the guy's a marketing genius. I've said it, and I'll say it again. The guy's a marketing genius.
It's okay. You could admit that you're a Jake Paul fan.
Nah, not at all.
I mean, if you purchase his hat, you have to be his fan.
No, I got actually the full disclosure. I got a knockoff on Etsy for a few bucks cheaper, so I did not support the Jake Paul website, the Jake Paul community. So
I got you.
Don't tell anybody about that.
Shut up. All
right, so moving on in the news, we have Tito Ortiz. He's stepping down from his position in Huntington Beach City Council. He was only on the job for about 6 months, and he's stepping down because he's claiming to be a victim of character assassination. He's been getting a lot of criticism ever since he took the position. He ran on the marketing campaign, Make Huntington Beach Great Again. A lot of people are saying that he is the local government version of Donald Trump. So he's been getting a lot of shit for a lot of different things. He's publicly come out and basically called COVID a pandemic, and he said it's a population control plan from the liberals. So he's been saying some ridiculous shit. So the criticism he's getting is warranted to a degree, in my opinion. But I don't know. What do you think of this whole situation? This is fucking weird, man.
I mean, I could understand, like, people do hate Donald Trump. So I understand why they would hate when he says make Huntington Beach great again. But he is the mayor, so people are supposed to, like, kind of look up to him. But when he says stuff like that, I could see why some people could get frustrated with him. I don't know. I mean, he's a lunatic. Like, what else can you say about him? Like, it's just the typical Tito Ortiz story. Like, you can't write this shit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect him to go far in a political career. I mean, Tito Ortiz, like you just said, he's a lunatic. He's not all there. Even from TV, what we've seen, there's very little positive stuff coming out of the direction of Tito Ortiz. It's usually some controversial shit, or he just did something dumb, or like not a political figure. I'm surprised he even dabbled in this at all. I wonder why. I don't know. Maybe it was the money or the power that he was after, but very strange, and I did not really expect much of it.
Well, yeah, let's give warm congratulations to Barbara Del Glaze, who was voted and sworn in as the mayor in place of him. Look, he said he was getting like death threats. He was worried for him and his family. I understand that, and I just feel like he should have never been elected for the role to begin with. Like,
I agree.
Who looks at Tito Ortiz and says he should be the leader of anything? It's insane.
I don't even know if I'll let him run the gym. You know what I mean? Like, that guy's just out of his fucking mind.
Bro, he's out of his mind. And like the way that Dana White speaks about him, like calling him like him having like a low IQ and like being like really dumb or whatever. Like, I really don't get it, to be honest. It's funny.
All right, so to conclude this podcast, let's just go through the UFC event this weekend. Rozenstruik versus Sakai. It's going to be Saturday at June 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern. The prelims are going to be at 4 p.m. Let me just read through the prelims and main card. Read some of the names off the list here. To start the night, we have Claudio Puelles taking on Jordan Leavitt. Sean Woodson is taking on Yusuf Zalal. Manan Firat taking on Tabitha Ritchie. Alan Patrick is taking on Mason Jones. Makwan Amir Khani is going to be taking on Camwell Kirk. Francisco Trinaldo is taking on Muslim Salikov. Tanner Bosner is taking on Ilir Latifi. And Montana De La Rosa is taking on Ariana Lipsky, who won our Submission of the Year award last year. Shout out. Moving on to the main card, we have Tom Breeze taking on Antonio Arroyo. Dusko Todorovic taking on Gregory Rodriguez. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Miguel Baeza. I'm actually pretty excited about this one. Ponzinibbio, he was out for some time and he lost after a crazy winning streak. Excited to see him back. That's definitely one I'm going to be watching. I hope.
Huge prospect coming out of Argentina. Most people thought that he was going to win his last fight, but
he was a huge favorite too.
He was a huge favorite, and he got stunned. So I'm looking for him to bounce back, and definitely a fight I'm excited for as well.
Continuing the card, we have Roman Dolidze taking on Loreno Strapoli. In the co-main event, we have Walt Harris taking on Marcin Tybura. This is going to be another really exciting heavyweight bout.
We have Walt Harris. Wait up, Walt Harris is going to get smoked.
Yeah, I feel bad for the timing of his career. I mean,
his
daughter, and then like how his career is turning out, and honestly, I don't see it turning back up to the positive direction anytime soon. So I just kind of feel bad with how his.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not trying to be insensitive or anything like that. What happened to his daughter is tragic. It's horrible, and like our condolences to him and his family. I don't know what it feels like, and I don't ever want to experience something like that. But let's just be realistic. Walt Harris was never a good fighter. He had the knockout power. He was never technically good. And in his last few fights, he's been getting exposed. Yeah, I do feel bad for him. I wish he could get some wins coming off like such a tragic event. But, it's a tough sport.
Like you said, poor guy. Hope everything works out for him. I think he looked great, fighting the lower level of competition. Now that he's up the rankings, as with everyone, we kind of see where your real holes are, see where you can get exposed, and we've been seeing that. So like you said, I do agree that Marcin Tybura is probably gonna get his hand raised this weekend. So for Walt Harris, after this fight, I would like to see him fight some lower level competition, at least for a few fights, just to get himself back up there.
Yeah, I agree for sure. If he doesn't get cut from the UFC, which I doubt that he will, because, just from his experience, and Dana White, it looks like he's pretty close to him. He was trying to find his daughter. He was aggressively trying to find his daughter. So, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I'm wishing him the best of luck.
On the main event, we have Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on Augusto Sakai. Another exciting heavyweight bout. What are your initial thoughts on this, John?
Yeah, so both fighters are actually coming off losses. With Rozenstruik, I know you're very high on him.
Yes.
Great striker, coming off of 2 losses, but 2 great fighters. He lost to Francis Ngannou, who's the current champion, and he lost to Cyril Gane, who's a really highly regarded prospect. And in terms of Sakai, he's coming off to not a bad opponent either. He's coming off to an older Overeem, but it's still a tough fight. I feel like this fight is going to be mostly stand-up. Neither fighter have any submission wins. They mostly keep the fight on the feet. So I'm expecting a striking match, and I probably see this one going to Sakai. How about you?
So like you mentioned, I'm Team Biggie Boy. I do think very highly of Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He is coming off a second loss, but to me, I think the size difference was the main thing in those 2 losses. Like you said, he lost to Francis and he lost to Cyril Gane. Both of those guys were significantly taller than him. I'm not really surprised by the Francis loss. I'm surprised how it happened, but I'm not surprised that he lost. I am a little bit surprised that he lost to Cyril Gane. I feel like the striking, his skill is more impressive, but again, I think it was the size that brought the issue. Aside from those 2 fights, Rozenstruik pretty much knocks everyone out. He has 11 of his 15 fights are wins by knockout. The guy is just one of the heaviest hands. I think he's on good track to beat Derek Lewis's knockout record of the UFC right now. Now, Augusto Sakai, like you mentioned, he's coming off a loss up from a pretty big opponent himself. We have Alistair Overeem, who was, recently cut from the UFC. He knocked out Sakai in the 5th round, in the beginning of the 5th round. what you said about, I agree that most of this fight is going to stand up on the ground. However, I feel like if Sakai wants to secure his advantage in this fight, he should go for the takedown. He has a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we have seen in Rozenstruik's last few fights that grappling is his weak spot. So my opinion, if Sakai can try to get that takedown and try to work from the ground, I think he'll have a lot more success than trying to stand up. Just because I feel like Rozenstruik's kickboxing is a lot more polished and refined. So
yeah. You mentioned Rozenstruik's knockouts. Sakai has a bunch of knockouts himself. He has 11 wins. He has 11 wins winning by either KO or TKO. So he's not really inexperienced in the striking department as well. So
I misspoke. It was Sakai that had 11 of his 15 wins by knockout. But for Rozenstruik, it's 10 of his 11 wins by knockout. So I actually misspoke earlier.
I feel like this is going to be a stand and bang type of fight, but I do agree he does have an advantage in the grappling department, as you said, with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. So I would like to see him utilize that, but I kind of see this fight standing on the feet.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it will stand on the feet. In my opinion, if it does, I think Rozenstruik will have an advantage. There's not that much of a size advantage. I think Sakai might be an inch or two taller, but Rozenstruik has an inch reach advantage. So I don't think the size is going to be a factor here. I'm excited. This might be a knockout of the night. You know, we got two heavy hitters, so I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, nevertheless, we have combat sports back. The UFC is back. Last week was a bit depressing with no MMA, but it's back, and we have some great fights this weekend. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. And guys, next week we have a very exciting interview. We have secured an interview with Mike Bond from MMA Junkie. For those that are familiar with that page, he's one of their senior reporters. He's a very knowledgeable guy. We're going to be shooting the shits about 263. I will be going to that event, so I'm very excited about this conversation next week. So be sure to tune into that one.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm definitely very excited for that, man.
And as always, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. On Instagram, we are Inside the Clinch MMA. On Twitter, we are ITC MMA Podcast. And on Facebook and YouTube, we are Inside the Clinch MMA. Thank you, guys. Catch you next week.
Adios.